Okay, so the initial valuation of my project was that I was doing a gargoyle character and I was going to animate this character in Source Filmmaker. Unfortunately, I spent 2 weeks research of trying to find out how to turn an FBX into an MDL and struggled to do so. I asked a few questions, searched the forums, couldn't find anything. So I converted to a plan B where I decided I was going to take my character into 3ds Max, animate the character in that. Unfortunately, it appeared that when I dragged the character into Max and started animating it, that one of the verts was not influenced by the right joint, so I had to drag it into Maya to change it, since I'm not an expert with Max or Maya. Well, Maya's just easier. So my final plan was to and do animation work in Maya. I chose the gargoyle because it's a mythical creature. It's kind of got concept to it. It has wings. It's the use of an animal as well as a human being. So it's that kind of built anatomy that I'm trying to get across. I think the fact that I got so caught consumed with time trying to find a way to fix plan A, I wasted a few hours, a few weeks, which was not very healthy for the assignment. Initially, I think it come off quite well. I bought a book on animation survival kit, so I was, getting through my walk cycle, my run cycle pretty easily. Come to doing a climb, it was fairly awkward, and I struggled a tiny bit. It just seemed to be that I was getting setbacks was the main issue I had. When I did my run for my gargoyle, because it's a weighted creature, it's quite heavy, I tried to use a reference from another character who's big and heavy with smaller limbs for legs, and it's quite a fast motion. I tried to use that as a reference. I was trying to get the feet step to weight and look relatively strong, however I struggled at points. The main other issue I had while trying to animate someone else's gargoyle, this wasn't my model. I didn't rig the model, I didn't texture it, and I didn't create it in general. I just did the animation for it. But the rig is messed up in the hierarchy, and there's a few joints that shouldn't be there and some that should. I think the fact that it was weighted very weird kind of made it struggle to actually animate the character itself. In general though, I did, for what I got wise, I did well to animate the character. I managed to fix one problem, but the second problem would have been just too time consuming. So I worked with what I had. Initially, everything was coming up great. I was step by step spending 9 hours a day tweaking small keyframes, copying keyframes over to loop the wall, and give it that realism, and making sure no frame was too extended, no limb was going over the board and stuff. But it was a difficult one to do, referencing wise. I could have used any reference really, but finding the perfect one for the job I wanted to do, which unfortunately I struggled to find. But I kept going animating it, and it started to come off quite nicely. I think that if I'd at least rig the model myself, use deformers, it possibly could have come out quite nicely. I could have used the deformers to animate a lot better. I could use IK rigging and been able to plant the feet firmly on the ground as opposed to them kind of swiping. It does lack a sense of weight to the character, but if I saw that in a game, I'd pretty much say that's a walking character, it's a running character. I wouldn't argue it, I wouldn't try to justify it. There was loads of limbs on it, and though the model itself was incredibly good, it struggled to kick off due to the bad rig. Also, my student version of Maya was not helping at all when it came to animating. I think that if I'd have been given more time, or at least had an understanding of what I was going to give from a better point of view and better understanding of the software, right about now, with the experience I've gained, I could definitely animate a character, possibly rig, and hopefully come up with something that would initially be better than my first attempt, so to speak, in Maya. No, I think it came off strong, and if I was ever to make a game, I'd use the character. Maybe not his jump or his climb, but there are just a few keyframes away at the minute. I mean, as you can see, his feet there, stepping over and over, and twist on his body, the weighting down of his shoulders, you know, to give it real effect, really kind of sells it to a point. You know, the walk, like I said, there's a joint missing in the pelvis, so twisting the pelvis became a difficult, you know, task for me. So I tried to rotate the body, rotate the pelvis. There was actually a way to fix it, and that was because the spine was influenced by the pelvis, which spine should have been a separate joint from the pelvis, so I could have dragged it from the hierarchy, did it that. Weight painting on the pelvis was shocking, so to speak, and I had to go at weight painting during my animation schedule, doing my climb, and his intestines looked like they dropped, so I vouched never to do that again without at least tutorial videos and working on how to do it better. I think, given the time that I used, produced a good amount of work and a balance of time with other things I had to do. There was a great deal of research gone into it. I mean, you don't see gargoyles every day. You can't say this is how a gargoyle works. You can't say this is how it moves. You've got to understand primitive control to it, kind of a human two-legged movement mixed in with the animalistic side. Wow. I mean, his walk has control to it, but when he's running, he's flailing his arms, he's moving them around, kind of like a gorilla charging or a lion pouncing. You know, it's the sense of those. It's a creature charging at you. It's an animal. It's probably going to attack you. It's not going to hug you, I'll tell you that. But overall, the success of the animations themselves come out quite nicely, in my opinion. I mean, there's tweaks can always be made, but that's animation for you. You can always better it from what you've done. I tried motion editing within Maya, my animations, and it turned out alright. It was helpful, but mainly I used the set keyframes. Like I said, the model itself came with flaws, but it did come with like advantages to every limb. They were so well connected apart from one place. I mean, it obviously, one flaw in a rig makes it a bad rig in general. If it's rigged, it's got to be rigged, it's got to be connected, it's got to be workable, you know, suitable. I should have added deformers, but without a suitable rig, what good are deformers? And joint edits and stuff and twists them. I started off mainly with the legs to focus for the walks and the runs, you know, get that sense of his body's moving. And then I used motion edited the arms so that they had the twist. Well, they had the movements back and forth, kind of like in parallel with the other opposite leg. So it was a realistic walk, more or less. His feet became a issue by the end of it. I used 10 keyframes a step on the run, and then his calves were a 5-step bend to get that flare and make it more realistic, or at least kind of give it that planting round that I was looking for. But other than that, I did as much as I could with the model I was given. The setback on time was unfortunately a flaw for me, but I made best with what I had, and there's nothing else really that should have been done. Obviously, not been set back from the start, and that would have been a great help early on, but just the way it is.